welcome Carla.
Hey Tracy, how
How
are
are you
you?
doing this morning? Carla is in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and you're our last speaker this morning, and you're one of the sisters from our Wednesday Bible study, and you're a blessing to us and to many other people.
Thank you so much.
And Carla is going to be sharing her testimony this morning and the ministry that she does to help save babies and also to help women who have had abortions and are healing from the trauma. And it's really exciting how God has given you the opportunity to share the resurrection and kingdom hope with these ladies in what you're doing, and just really opened the doors for that. And just really grateful that you're willing to share with us and everything you do. And so I'm excited.
Amen. Yes, it's been a roller coaster of events, and they kind of started happening rather quickly. I'll talk a little bit about that. Thank you so much for the introduction. You're all a blessing to me as well, and I'm very much enjoying this conference, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. You could put the first one up
So
there.
this one here.
Yes, that's basically the organization that I'm a volunteer for. It's called Heartbeat of Miami. It's a local branch of an international organization called Heartbeat International. It opens up clinics that support women, pregnant women in crisis, and also abortion recovery. So I've been a volunteer there for, I'm going to say, about 5 years. And it is a ministry. So every woman that goes in there will be counseled, and we will share Jesus with them. Um, what they essentially do is they provide free pregnancy tests. And let me bring up the second one so you can see.
Okay, so the second slide, bring it up.
Yeah, please.
This is what your clinic does.
That's what they do. That's what we all do every day. We give free pregnancy tests and free ultrasounds. And but we also give the most important part is that we inform them about what's going on in their bodies, what abortion actually is, what it does. 100% of the women that go in there have no idea about
Mm.
what's going on in their bodies, about um, what abortion does. And we give them that information. And we basically, and we show them their sonogram. We give them a sonogram so they can see their baby on the screen. Whereas when you go to an abortion clinic, they do a sonogram and they hide that from you. They don't let you see it. But
Mm.
a lot of the women that come in there, they see their baby, they see a tiny little human, or they see a heartbeat, and they realize that this is a real person. And a lot of the times they will change their mind. They will hold on to that child.
Mm.
So we focus on saving the mother, because if you save the mother, you save the child.
Mm.
And we support them until their child turns 2 years of age, in terms of if they need more counseling, if they need, we give parenting classes as well. Uh,
Mm.
we are donation based, so we get a lot of diapers, we get a lot of cribs, baby items, and we give everything they need. We give them
So you're
everything.
able to help them so they don't have an excuse to say, well, I would like to, but I don't have anywhere to,
Yes.
you know.
I don't have any money. I don't have a crib. I don't have transport. We give everything. We've gone out of their way to, and we also, worst case scenario, most of the women that go there just don't want to be pregnant. That's the situation. It's an
Mm.
inconvenience. Some of them have real fears, but about other things. But for the most part, there's a million things that go through their head that just interferes with the ability of thinking clearly. And we just try to just sit down and we just listen. We sit there and they listen. A lot of them have never revealed their pregnancy to anybody. We're the first ones to hear about it. From the moment you pick up their phone call, you know, so you just try to bring them in, and you talk to them here, and they will speak to you, and they'll open up their heart, and a lot of the times they'll walk away and think about it. If you can achieve that, then that baby has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
So they have let me see if I can have the next slide.
Yeah, you'll have to take the first one off and then put it up there. Yeah, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you ask our women a lot of times, you know, to pray for certain people that have come in, and you're able to talk with them and share. So it's not just, you know, a lot of people say, oh yeah, you're trying to save babies, but then you do nothing after that. And so then this woman is sitting there on the street with her child, and oh yeah, you saved the baby. But I'm hearing you say what you do is you really are there for those ladies
Oh,
and
yes.
giving them a chance to start and to um,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely. They actually they become friends. You know, they come back. There are women that come in there for all of their pregnancies. I mean, not every single woman that comes into the clinic is seeking an abortion. A lot of them are just pregnant and they've taken a home test and they just want to verify. They don't have a doctor. They can't go get a sonogram. They want to
mhm.
see if everything is developing the way or where it's supposed to be developing. Is not an ectopic. So we'll come in and we will go ahead and do the sonogram for them. We'll help them fill out any Medicaid that they need, that they qualify for. Give them names of free clinics or low cost clinics that are in
Mhm.
the area. We keep a list and we continue to update that list. Refer them to doctors that take Medicaid plans. Um, we constantly we are trying to support them in any way we can. We do.
Mhm.
I mean, there was in one of the clinics in Hialeah, one of the volunteers knows how to sew. So she gave sewing classes. She actually bought little sewing machines, I think 4 or 5 of them. And she had free sewing classes so they can learn to make clothes for their babies.
Well, that's
Um,
good.
yeah, that was really good. Lactation courses and just as much as you possibly can do for them. And they're very appreciative of it. You know, a lot
Mhm.
of the women, they all take advantage of it. They
Mhm.
all
Well,
take
that's
advantage.
great. Did you
Yeah.
have your next slide uploaded? I see that only this one here.
I'm trying to upload the second one, but let me see. I don't know. It's just one that has statistics. There we go. It's one that has the statistics as to how many babies we have saved from
That's great.
2007, and that would be 65,000, I believe it is. That the
Wow.
number. Yeah,
Lives, 65,000 lives.
yeah. For some reason, it won't let me do it, but whatever. Okay. Yes, and we definitely. Um, it gives a slide with all the numbers of ultrasounds. If we see something, like the sonographers are, in fact, they are, you really have to love this mission because sonographers are qualified to work anywhere they want. Okay.
Mhm.
And we are donation based, so they're not getting paid what they could get paid in a hospital setting. So
Mm.
you really have to believe in the mission of saving babies because you're going to get paid less. You are probably we're very lean in terms of staff. Okay, because
Mhm.
like I said, it's a donation based organization, and it's a requirement to be a believer. Okay, you need to be a believer, and you need to be living your life according to what the scripture says. So you can't
Mm.
be living with your boyfriend, and you can't be, so we can't just hire anybody. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You have to be doing the sonogram, and at the same time, you're talking to them. Oop, look, there's the baby. Oh, look there's a hand. There's your baby. Even if you don't see a hand or a foot, or it's not developed yet, you're like, oh, there's your baby, mom. Look, mom, there's your baby. There's your child. Say hello to baby. And
Mhm.
it's a sack.
Right.
So, but that's the baby. At the time, that is your baby. So, we talk to her, we talk to the baby. Have you picked the name? What if it's a girl? Oh, I think it's gonna be a boy. So you basically you humanize this child because most of the
Mm.
women come in there thinking, I'm not gonna see arms, legs, and it's a clump of cells. Because
Mhm.
we are, myself included, we are the Roe v. Wade generation. We grew up thinking this. I did. I grew up thinking that it was a clump of cells.
Mhm.
Okay, so
In regard to what you're saying there, we have a question here. The recent voting trend shows most of self-professed Christians still want some kind of abortion rights. So, do you have any thoughts on how we can win more hearts and minds in that way?
we are we active in the political community. Like we're trying to get very connected with um with people that are of influence. Okay, when it comes to that, um, the biggest tool is just information. Okay,
Mhm.
we do have the right to decide for our body, but we don't have the right to the child's body. Okay, that is a different body. There's a
Mm.
different DNA in you. For 9 months of your life, there's two in one. Okay, that is ability. Okay, there's two DNAs in you. Okay, every human being has a set has a DNA. You have 46 chromosomes. While you're pregnant, you can double that because there's 46 of yours and 46 of your child. You don't have the right to dictate what happens to that child. Your decision making process as to what you're going to do with your body stops the moment you become pregnant. Because once you have unprotected sex, you are giving permission to become a parent. You are giving your body permission to become pregnant and to have a child. Once that child is there, you're done. That's it. And most people just don't want to accept that. They just, well, why? It's my body. Okay, but we're not, the scripture gave us the gift of being life givers. That's it. Okay, we bring life into this world. That's our gift. Okay, that's as women. That's what the Lord did for us. We bring life. We don't take it. Okay, that's not part of the whole situation. Everything is just so skewed and so incredibly um, Roe v. Wade. It's very, you have the right to do this, you have a right to do that. And it's very difficult because even people that are non believers, okay, that follow the science, don't follow the science in this case. Okay, the science says that life begins at conception. Boom. Okay, that's it. There's even a video that shows that when a sperm unites with an egg, there's like a beam of light that occurs, that somehow it was captured by a camera, but there's like a little beam of light that just comes off, and boom, that's when life begins. Every scientist will tell you that.
That's
Okay.
exciting. I think this needs to begin, Carla, if people are listening, whether you're parents or grandparents or you go to a church and have youth there, these kind of things need to be talked about.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be discussed and shared, and like you said, share some of the videos, help them to see it. You It's better to do that before you're in that position and they're coming to you and you're showing them that. It's better if they see those things before so
Absolutely.
they know. And like you said, if you're teaching, especially if people are claiming to be Christians, which, if you have Sunday school or things like that, youth groups, these things need to be talked about all the time, and they need to be shared. And like you said, well, you're not having sex, you're not sleeping together
Right.
if you're a Christian, because once you do, it's no longer just your body and your choice for you.
Right. Right.
uh,
Exactly. I had a woman recently that I spoke to, um, and she said she was a believer. She said she had given her life to Christ 3 years ago, and she thought she was pregnant. And I said, okay, so are you married? She said, no. Does the father know? Well, it depends. Yes and no. They go, what do you mean? Well, I'm with this man now that I really, really like, but I think this baby might be from my previous boyfriend. Okay. So, so that they have been lied to even in their church. Okay.
mm,
Because they don't, they're skipping very important parts here. Okay. She believes in the once saved, always saved, all your sins are forgiven, past, present, and future. So she was a former Muslim. Okay. So
mm,
God brought her this far. Okay. Now she believes in Christ. But she's just so confused. There was so much to unpack in that visit that, I hope that she comes back so we can finish our conversations. And she keeps coming back because every time we do a sonogram, it's too early to see anything. So we tell her come back in another week. So in another week, she comes back and we sit down with her again. So there's a lot of planting seeds. Okay. Now, the church is very uncomfortable talking about the issue of abortion. It's become very political, which unfortunate, unfortunately, that there's an issue. You know, churches don't want to get political. I don't see it as a political issue. I see it as a moral issue, but churches don't want to get into that, so they don't want to mention it. Okay. Um, the the post there's the church that I used to go to has a post-abortion recovery um, Bible study, and nobody knew about it. I didn't know about it. I had no idea. All you have to do is just put it on the screen and say, okay, for any woman that's interested, you just this is a number you need to call, or call the church, you know, and we'll give you the number privately. It's anonymous. Da da da. Nothing. Nothing. They don't
Wow.
want to speak about it. I've gone to several luncheons that are um, once first Thursday of the month. They have luncheons for life, which is sponsored by this organization called Support After Abortion, and a lot of the people have approached their church pastors. Listen, you know, I want to bring this out. I want to put a memorial outside of the church for aborted children. Oh no, 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 that upsets people in our congregation. We
Mm,
have a gentleman that has a men's ministry. Okay,
mm.
and that's so important because men have been diluted to mere participant, second participant. The whole decision decides it rests with a woman, which it takes two to make a child. So I don't understand why the man has been excluded from the decision making process. But um, it affects men. Okay, it affects men. Men that have a repentant heart, they have nobody to go to, nobody to talk to, nobody. So there's gentlemen there that actually have ministries for men, and they want to present it to their church, and the church is like, no, no, you know, just we'll let people know in our own way, but
Hmm.
we don't want you to be out there advertising and handing out pamphlets. That's very it disturbs
That's
people.
really sad, like you said, in the church, if we're supposed to be Christians, and like you said, it's a moral issue, it's not a political issue.
Right.
So, I mean, churches should be making a stand on this, and,
Absolutely.
Bible colleges should be training their pastors and lay people in this so that they know that this is an issue and giving them some sort of direction and support what to do because it is a huge problem today. It's a huge issue. It's not just, one in a million like maybe it was, 100, 200 years ago.
No, no,
Um,
the our Florida. I just saw the statistic. Actually, it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, it popped up again, and from this statistic came out in July. From January to June, 38,000 abortions were performed in the state of Florida. That's just the first part of 2023, the first half.
wow.
And one third of those were performed in residents of my county, Miami-Dade County, and Broward. The most populated county is my county, which is Miami-Dade County.
Be careful with your mic there, please. You're bumping it and it's making some sound.
Okay.
So just don't hit it. Thanks.
It's the headphones. Maybe I could take them off.
No, you're good. Just be careful with your moving your hands.
And yeah, so they were performed on residents of Miami-Dade County and Broward. Broward's the second most populous county here. And this is a huge mission field. It's just huge. And I don't understand why churches prefer not getting involved. Okay,
Mm,
you prefer to pack um, backpacks for children, which is noble. Okay, it's wonderful. But 75% of those children don't have dads. Okay, they're born to single moms, and I'm so glad that they're here. But let's educate some people a little bit so they don't have to
hmm.
um, go through what they're going through and become repeat offenders. Because those lunches that you're packing in those backpacks, okay, those kids have moms, and if they become pregnant again, they're going to run to one of those clinics and they're going to say, I can't afford this child. So just there's just a lot of lack of concern for that area. They rather
Mm,
deal with the aftermath more,
mm, mm,
than to get to the root problem of it. They don't
mm.
want to deal with that. And that's just huge. It's huge, and it's a travesty.
It is. There's a couple questions here if I'll bring up, because you had mentioned, that wonderful light you said when the conception takes place. There are people, and even some biblical Unitarian, I believe that and teach that you only become a person when you take your first breath at birth. What would you say to that?
No, no, that's not true. I'd say the Lord lit you in your mother's womb, and He knew you from the first time you were conceived. That's not. I don't even see how that's even possible. I mean, that I read about that actually yesterday, the day before yesterday, that I was working on the Bible study that that I talked to you about for
Mm-hmm.
post-abortive women, and just I was reading this about the sanctity of life and how God is in control of who you're going to be and what you're going to look like and what you're going to be like from the moment you are conceived in your mother's womb. In your mother's womb, I feel that people that believe that you become a human being or a person the moment you take your first breath or you come out of the womb are the ones that are more prone to justify an abortion. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's why they do it, I think.
A child, the youngest child to be able to survive outside of mother's womb was at 21 weeks of gestation.
Wow.
21 weeks, that's 5 months. I mean, you do come out with, you'll go straight into the NICU. You'll be there for a few months, but that child is 4 years old today and she's fine. So at 20 weeks you feel pain. So this is a full human being who's just relying 150% on their mother to finish the cooking process so that she can come out and be introduced to their mother. You are a mother the moment your child is conceived. Okay, you're just waiting for the introduction. That's the way I see it. That's the way I understand it. I believe that
Mm-hmm.
that's the way God meant it to be. I remember, I mean, the child inside of you jumps. She hears you. You're doing. From the moment you can feel them, they have reactions. They get scared, they get hiccups. So they're just waiting to come out and meet you.
That's a
So
really good way to look at it. That's really neat.
yeah, that's
I
what I
think when
tell
you
them.
share that with the ladies, it probably puts a different view on it.
Well, as soon as we do the blood test, and we see the urine test, and we see the two lines together, they get a congratulations. Congratulations, mom. It's not you're going to be a mom. It's you're a mom. Congratulations, mom. You're a mommy. Congratulations. There you are. So we call them moms from the beginning. We kind of have to gauge the situation because a lot of the women come in distraught. Okay, so they don't want to hear congratulations, mom. But I do sneak it in there every once in a while because they need to know they're mothers. Okay, they are already mothers, and it's not you're going to be a mom because you become a mom when the baby's born. No, you're a mom the moment that child is conceived. Okay,
Well, and
yeah.
what you do affects that child just like after the child's born. And you said, that the baby is dependent on the mother totally. Even when they come out, they are.
Yes, they are. They're 2 years old and they're still depending on the mother
And
100%.
some of them are 20 and they are, huh?
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, they
But,
are. Yes,
and
they
so
are.
where do you draw the line then when it's okay to abort your child? When
Never.
they're inconvenient or causing you problems or whatnot?
It's never. I mean, I hear a lot, and that troubles me when I hear about incest and when I hear about, cases of rape and cases of incest. Like if it's a small child, like you're 13, 12 years old, and your cousin rapes you. Those are difficult situations. I would hate to have to be the parent of the child that decides what they're going to do. But the law says that 12-year-old child has the right to decide to have her baby if she wants to. Okay. And
Mhm.
the parents can't say, okay, I'm going to drive you to an abortion clinic. It's not up to them, it's up to the 12-year-old child. That's extremely difficult. But the way I see it, and easier said than done, Um, uh, Abortion just creates another trauma. Okay? It's an additional trauma. Being pregnant and having a baby at the age of 12 and 13 has to be torturous. Okay, you're not in school, you're not participating in I can't even imagine the psychological trauma. But there's worse psychological trauma when you have an abortion, and it affects every part of your life. Okay, your adult life. Um, if you even begin to um, understand it, I mean, there's therapy that you need to unpack years of trauma. You start exhibiting behaviors that you're not even sure why they're there. And then when you go into therapy or you go into abortion recovery and you unpack all those feelings, you realize, oh, that's what it was. Oh, that's how I
And
know.
that lasts longer than the 9 months you would have been pregnant.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's behavior modification. Imagine this happens to somebody when they're 13, 14. That's when you start. Okay. So you realize when you're in your 40s, you've got 30 something years of doing the same thing over and over. Now you're treating a damaged adult. Okay. And it's just versus trying to work with the families of those kids that are, let's say, trafficked. And now there's a lot of child trafficking, and a lot of sex trafficking, and a lot of human trafficking. So we're prepared to see a lot of that. A lot of young pregnant girls, 14, 15. Um, we try to we have we're implementing, we're working on it because we're not seeing a huge amount yet. But to try to work with the parents of those young girls and see how we can give them psychological help so that they can carry the term, perhaps give that child to a family that wants that child, and um, and then work on the psychological aspect of that child during that time and after. Because I feel, and this is just my opinion, I've never experienced, and I don't have a child that's had that situation, but once you give birth to a child and you give it to somebody else, the Lord has a way of turning your tragedy into a testimony, and you become a blessing to somebody else. And I think that's what stays with you the most. Yes,
Mhm.
I was pregnant at 13. Yes, this happened to me, but this is how it ended up. This is how it ended. This was how the story ended. It didn't end in me killing my baby. Okay, it
Mhm.
ended up, the baby lives, and some other family is happy because of something horrible that happened to me, but it blessed somebody else, and that blesses you instead. I know as a parent, you don't want to think of your child having to go through all that, but I think that if there was counseling for it and treatment for that, maybe, just maybe, that we'll get there. There's just
Mhm.
so much
Mhm.
to do.
Do you have testimonies that show anyone that has come into your clinic, maybe who's been raped or anything like that, and the mothers who kept those babies and came out of that trauma, but they see now that those mothers or those babies are living happy lives?
Personally, I did talk to somebody. I did talk to somebody who came in and she was pregnant, and sh- she the first time I believe that she was raped by a family member because child services was there when she gave birth to that child. Okay, and the second time that she came in, she had had one abortion after that. The second time she came in, she was pregnant and she was keeping that baby, and she she spoke of the trauma, uh, but not in a way that led me to believe that she was still living in it. Okay,
Mhm.
and this is not a believer. Okay, this is
Mhm.
not a believer. This is just a woman that happened to have an experience, a rape experience. But she did say that Child Protective Services took the child, and the child is living with a family now. And that, I think that's what made her seem calm. She was calm. She was not in a panic. She was not crying. She was not. She was relieved. I guess maybe that's the way. that I could describe. She was relieved that that's how the whole thing ended up happening. So that was the only one. I didn't press on the past very much because a lot of them are not comfortable talking about that. Um, but she didn't have any trouble talking about the fact that her child was alive and living with a family somewhere, and that's a that was
a good thing, right?
we do.
Another. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, we do have we do work with attorneys that will place the child in a Christian home. Okay, it's important that they stay in a Christian home. So if somebody comes in and says, "Oh, I don't want to have, I don't believe in abortion, but I can't have this baby," immediately we talk to them about adoption. Okay, and that's a very, it's a very noble thing. It's a huge benefit for everybody. It's a huge blessing for everybody. And if they want an open adoption, they can have an open adoption. That's something we can work with. So,
well, that's good. Another question here, and so I know some people when they do different things, you have to sign a statement of faith. Unfortunately, a lot of times, I know my brother-in-law wanted to help men with problems with pornography, but you had to sign a statement of faith, and he's like, I can't do it. And unless you have some more to share on what we were just talking about, I know, like you said, the post-abortion work that you do, you're now able to share your faith because you have been open with your superiors there. But do you need to sign statements of faith or say that you believe in the Trinity or going to heaven or hell like a lot of the organizations do? Do you have to deal with this? And how
not
do you
not in Heartbeat of Miami, no. They if you tell them, there's a huge application where they ask you all these questions. Do you believe in Jesus as the Messiah? Yes. Okay, that's do you that's the basic issue. Are you believing? Do you believe in this? Do you belong to a church? They're big with that. Okay. Do you belong to a church? Which church? Can we contact the pastor? Are you living a Christian lifestyle? Like, if you're married, are you living with your husband? Or if you're not married, are you living alone? Are you keeping your so that kind of stuff, yes, but they never really asked me to sign any. They can't really, at this moment, they can't really be that picky because honestly, the women that work there are incredibly passionate about what they do. They give their hearts every single day to these women, to save women, and you bring it home. You bring some of that home. I can't believe been thinking of this person. I need to call. I need to see if a lot of these women are just homeless. They call you when they can't pay rent. Oh, I'm pregnant and my husband kicked me out and I'm in a hotel and what do I do? And we're not supposed to do it, but a lot of the times we'll collect, people take money out of their wallets and, so it's very, it's a work of the heart and not a lot of people are willing to do that. So they're very, like I said, they're very lean, in terms of employees. We rely a lot on volunteers, but we don't have a ton. And the volunteers have to also be living a life that is biblical. It's scriptural. They have to be believers. They have to be, but they did not. I didn't have to sign a statement of faith. Thank goodness.
That's good. And so you were sharing, like you just mentioned a little while ago, what you're preparing. So another ministry that you do is helping with the trauma of women who have had abortions. Mm-hmm. And could you tell us a little bit about what you do with that? And then, you were asked to do this and you said, yeah, but I can't be sharing, your babies in heaven because I don't believe that. And you were given permission to share the truth.
Right. It's because, and I'll give you a little bit of background, and this is something that I've never shared in a forum this public, but I will share it today because I think it's important to understand what's behind the mentality of a woman that takes on abortion. I am a post-abortive woman, okay? I terminated my first pregnancy 34 years ago, just a few short months before my wedding. Okay, I was about to get married to the man I loved. We wanted to have children. We had talked about it. We were so excited, and we were about to get married. And we decided, you know what? Let's just skip the honeymoon. and get straight to business. And we're gonna get married anyway. So that ended up in me getting pregnant, and panic ensued. I froze. I completely froze, and I believed that I knew abortion was wrong. I knew abortion was wrong. I thought it took the future life, the life of a future human being. I did not associate, uh, like you said, I did not associate a living person with one that was still in the belly. Okay, it was a baby has arms and legs, and you hold them and they say goo goo gaga. Okay, that was my mentality. And I just freaked out. I freaked out, and I was so afraid because my dad was going to kill me. My dad was going to kill me, and why did I care? Why did I care that my dad was going to kill me? I was moving. I was getting married. I was moving away after the wedding. Okay, nobody would have to know, but I grew up that way. I had my brain didn't operate in any other capacity the one that was but the one that my dad instituted on me since I was a child. My dad, God bless him, he passed away last year, and he took all his demons with him. He had rage issues, out of control rage issues. He never really physically abused any of us, but the verbal and the mental abuse I carry to this day. Okay, that's something that I give to the Lord daily. Okay, because it affected me to this day. It affected me. So I think what he wanted to do, he wanted to raise us in a way that was opposite to his mother. He had a very low opinion of women. Okay, his mother was not a good mother. Okay, not a good mother. I know I mentioned it to you guys. She believed in the occult, and all that stuff seeped into his family, and then us, and then it's just been it's been an entire detoxification process that we've been going through for years. And but I was afraid that he would kill me because
Like
he
for real, not
like
just,
for real.
oh, he'll
Yeah,
kill
yeah.
me.
No, not figuratively, like literally kill me. I had seen, well, he would tell us, like, if you ever do something that it's shameful or something that I don't agree with, you're gone. When he would tell us, and he would get into a rage, he would have to punch a wall. Or, I mean, we're little, we're 5 and 6 years old, and we've seen this. Okay, and we've seen that's what he did with mom too. That was just his stock reaction, was to just blow up for little things. We're walking around with a glass of water, and you spill it on the floor. Oh, the name calling and all that. So we learned how to keep dad happy. He needed to keep dad happy because happy dad was great. Happy dad showed love to us. Okay, happy dad was sang songs in the guitar, but angry dad was a monster. Angry dad was a monster, and he did not show love when he was angry. In fact, he the way he showed love was it was very conditional. Like, it was based on your performance. Okay, if you did something that he considered dumb or stupid, which when you're a kid, everything you do is dumb. Okay, so but that just did not fit in his head. He was trying to raise us to be a certain way. I think he was trying to raise a different breed of women,
Mhm.
and we were like little soldiers, and he wanted to make us strong, and he wanted to make us like him, not like my mom, because my mom was very soft and gentle, and he was just very strong, and he wanted to make us strong, but he did the opposite. He made us very weak and insignificant, and our self-esteem was on the floor. Okay, and it just when I had my own children and I see my own husband interacting with our daughters, I realize I'm jealous. Okay, I realize how important a father is. Okay, because I was accountable to my father. Period. I mean, he had no religious beliefs really. For the most part, when I was growing up, he didn't have religious beliefs. He had opinions, but he didn't stick to anything. And um and that was my first image. My first impression of what God must be like was by watching my dad. Okay, he said, I'm the utmost authority here. You're accountable to me. Okay, so he was a punisher. Okay, when you did something wrong, he punished you. He did not forgive you. He punished you and he belittled you. He belittled you, and that's how we grew up. So we the only way to survive there was to lie to him. Okay, we became the best liars. We were always pretending. You know, you either agree with him or you lied to him, because a lot of the things that he said were just wow. You know, and as we got older, we started having our own opinions, and that posed problems. So I lied to him all the time. You know, I did not have any religious convictions either. I mean, I knew that abortion was wrong because it ended the life of a future child, and I knew abortion was wrong because it was a cop out. You know, it was a way to avoid shame. You did something bad, and you're ashamed of showing it because you know your belly's gonna grow and everybody's gonna know. So you just remove the problem. And I thought that was a cop out, and I never in a million years thought that that would happen to me. So um, me telling my dad was out of the question. It was just I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I told my husband. Listen, this is happening. His reaction was the opposite of mine. He was happy. Okay, because like, oh, this, you know, all we have to do is hide it. We're just gonna hide it. You know, we have 4 months. We're gonna be married. We're gonna be moving away. Nobody's gonna know. Nobody's gonna have to see you. When the baby's born, we'll deal with it then. You know, we'll let them know. They're gonna want to meet the baby. They're gonna. I said, okay. I took a deep breath and I said, okay, I'm gonna hide it. I'm gonna hide it. That's the plan. Well, that was troublesome. That was not something that I was able to do because all my pregnancies have been huge. Okay, the first thing that I lose is my waistline, and I started gaining weight from the beginning. I was bloated every day, and that same week that we decided, the next week that we decided that we were going to hide it, I had a fitting for my wedding gown. So I'm putting it on, and it does not close. It just doesn't close. It was just the lady's like, "Girl, what have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Oh my God." My mother was with me. She's looking at me weird. I was shaking. I became nauseous. I went up. They were gonna alter the dress again. Just let it out. I was tiny at the time, like 104 pounds or something like that, and I gained like 8 pounds or something. It was ridiculous. So I went home, and I cried. The fear that I felt, I couldn't function. I could not function. I literally threw up. And well, my husband, he saw how I was, and he did what all men do today, which is, I'll support your decision. If this is what you want, then I'll stand by you. We'll have more kids later. And I made my appointment. Uh, Mind you, when we were going to keep the baby, we had the plan of keeping the baby. I said, okay, well, that week I looked up a lady in the phone book. I went to an OBGYN, and because I wanted to know what to do. I've never been pregnant before, and I wasn't going to tell anybody. So I went to this OBGYN's office. I told her, look, I have this test. And she said, okay, I have an ultrasound machine. So he did an ultrasound, and she zeroed in on the little sac. I had a little sac. And then she zeroes in, and there's pulsations. So I saw my baby's heartbeat. I saw my baby's heartbeat. I just didn't put it together. It didn't register, you know? So I saw my baby's heartbeat. And to this day, I see my baby's heartbeat. You know, I never forgot that. Um, I knew there was something going on. I didn't see arms and legs. It was a little kidney bean looking. And I left, and then that's when the thing happened with the wedding dress. So I said to my husband, I need to have an abortion. I need to terminate my pregnancy before it turns into a baby. It's going to turn into a baby sooner or later, and then I'm not going to be able to do that. So in my mind, this was not a baby, you know. And excuse me, I I went to the clinic. I don't remember anything about that day. I don't remember where I went. I don't remember when. I don't remember what it looked like. I don't remember anything. I It was such a traumatic experience. It's a coping mechanism because it happens sometimes with some of the women that we see. You just erase it from your mind. I don't remember a thing. I just know that I went somewhere. My husband was with me, and he was with me when I came out. I do remember the feeling that I felt as I was in a car with him. I remember being in a car with him, and he was holding my hand. I felt empty. I felt empty because after weeks of feeling bloated and weeks of feeling, hungry, all of a sudden everything stopped. I felt completely empty. And then I remember thinking, wow, I hope I can have children in the future. That's how out of control my thinking process was. That I knew that I was taking a risk, that maybe in the future I wasn't going to be able to have kids. But that was a risk I needed to take because I could not tell my dad he was going to maybe hurt me, maybe hurt my mom if she took my side. He was going to take away the only support system I ever had was my sisters and my mom. And he would make them choose. Like he would literally, I was just going to break my entire family apart. And fear won this battle to me. It overcame me. And that led to my decision of not having my baby. After, but after the abortion, I went and I planned my wedding, and the wedding happened, and it went off without a hitch. And I just kept pretending I just kept lying. I lied to my dad. I've been lying all this time. I'm just gonna keep lying. It's a process. It just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. My husband and I said, okay, in time, we're just, we'll forget about it. Let's just pretend this never happened. Let's start over. We're going to start over from scratch. We'll pretend it never happened. I had friends who had abortions in college, and they seemed fine. Okay, so I was convinced that sooner or later this was not going to be. It was just going to be a non-issue. We'll have other kids perhaps, and that just never happened. It's never happened. It just got worse. In time, we got married. I thought, okay, we're going to start from scratch. We're going to, be married for a couple of years, like we had planned, and then we're going to have a baby afterwards, and it's going to be great. And a month after my wedding, I was pregnant again. Okay, so but this time it was okay to tell. I wasn't happy about the fact that I was pregnant so soon, but I was married now, so this time everybody was happy. And this was just like maybe a few months after I had my abortion. And in my mind, I was thinking, wow, what's the difference? It was the first time I thought when I got pregnant with my Alessandra, my oldest daughter. I thought, what's what's the difference? I didn't like thinking that way, so I buried that thought in the back of my head, along with the abortion experience. Whatever thought I wasn't comfortable with, I just put it in that little suitcase in the vault in the back of my head, where everything has gone and been kept for all these years. So I started reading the What to Do When You're Pregnant book. I believe it's called. I don't remember what it's called. Um, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
And when I started reading what happens to your body, I started thinking, oh my gosh, this is the same thing. It's the same thing. I looked for an OB. We were living in Connecticut at that time. I looked for an OBGYN over there, and he happened to have an ultrasound machine in his office as well. So he gave me an ultrasound to verify my pregnancy. And there's the kidney bean again with a little heartbeat. I was exactly 6 weeks pregnant, about the same as with the first one. And I looked, and I didn't like the feeling that I was getting. I was like, it's the same thing. What's the difference between number one and number two? The only difference was me. How I approached it. It was wantedness was making a difference between the first child and the second child.
Hmm.
I didn't like that thought either, so I buried that one too. And that's how that's what you do. You bury what you're not comfortable with. We were not Christians. We didn't believe in much. The only God I believed in was my dad. And but when I had my daughter, I wanted her to be a good person. I think, well, what am I going to teach her? I don't want her to be accountable to me, because that doesn't work. Okay, I was accountable to my dad, and look what I did. Okay, I want her to be accountable to something much bigger, not just me. So All I had to do was say that. Okay. And the Lord heard that.
Mhm.
And a few weeks after that, I was introduced to the most unorthodox preacher I had ever met in my entire life. He was an evangelical man. He was coming over to my mother-in-law's house to, to talk about Jesus. I don't even know how my mother-in-law became involved with this man who's a preacher, just like a regular preacher. And he spoke in tongues and all this other stuff. And, I remember being in my mother-in-law's house where I was living at the time, putting the baby down for a nap. And she said, come over, come and listen to what he has to say. You'll be interested. And that was it for me. That was it for me. The Lord used him, okay, to introduce me to Jesus Christ and salvation through Jesus. And after that, you know, um, we were introduced to Christ, to salvation. He pulled me out of the darkness that I was living in, and my husband followed soon after that. And we just dove into Scripture. We were just hungry for the Word. I felt, I truly felt born again. There was a lightness that I felt. I repented from my heart from everything. That it was more like a blanket. Forgive me for my sins. And but I still feel that there was a vault in the back of my head that I didn't want to ask for forgiveness for because it was buried. Okay. But I figure the Lord knows my heart. He
Mhm.
knows that I repented from this. So, um, my husband dove into Scripture, and that led to being pulled out of the false doctrine of the Trinity. We had been attending Presbyterian churches, Baptist churches, looking for a place to belong. And but when my husband found, he wanted, when Juan wants, when he gets excited about something, he needs to spread the word. And we became saved, and we were light, and we were happy. So it's like we have to spread the word. And he tried doing that. He was he was a pilot at the time, and he's preached Jesus to a pilot, and he said, "Well, I don't believe in three gods. You have three gods." And he said, "No, we don't." So he came home to try to explain away the Trinity, and instead of trying to explain it away, he's like, "Wait a second." So he was taught the truth. He said, "Lord, just show me the truth." So he taught that to me, and there's like, okay, now we got to spread this around. So um, he took over that. I had more kids. I had a job. Then we moved to a new house. So during those years, raising the girls, my head was busy. I was
How many
full.
children do you have, Carla? Somebody's asking.
Four daughters. I have four daughters, existing daughters.
Mhm.
Um, but um, but I was busy. Okay. And when you're busy with little ones and your husband's traveling, you don't have time to even sit down for a meal, let alone dwell on things that happened in the past. So those years kept me busy. But the fact that I was coming into the presence of the Lord more often made me feel worse. I, the more I prayed and the more I read Scripture, the more convicted I became of my abortion sin. The guiltier I felt, the more shame I felt. And I didn't understand why. I go, wait, why do I feel worse? I should feel better. I should feel at peace, because the Lord forgave me for this. Why? And I couldn't understand it. So, and this happened most of the time when I sat down to pray. So instead of bringing that to the Lord, I walked up and walked away. So, and the guilt and the shame that comes after an abortion, when somebody's convicted of the sin of abortion, is so toxic. It's so toxic. It affects everything. It affects the way you approach the Lord. I couldn't. The more I sat down to pray and I came into his presence and I felt his holiness, the more unworthy of being there I felt. Okay.
Mhm.
And I figured, okay, so this is my punishment. Okay. This is my punishment for my abortion sin. I'm going to feel like this for the rest of my life. Okay. I, he's punishing me because I didn't do things right. you know. And that's where I thought of my dad. I mean, this is the same thing. It's the same thing as with my father. Okay, I didn't do things right, and he would punish me. This is God's reaction. He's turned his face away from me because of what I did. You know, and the way my dad dealt with things that weren't right to him was by showing indifference. Okay, and I always say the opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference. Because I much, you know, I would much rather have somebody tell me I hate you than you're of no consequence to me. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so I thought that was my punishment. You know, so just like my dad, I thought he was just punishing me for this. So okay, I thought of King David a lot. Okay, I'm like, okay, so King David was God's servant. He loved him. And look what he did to King David. He took away his firstborn. And surely he's got something in store for me. So I lived in constant fear that the Lord would take one of my daughters. And um, I think that's coming. Something like that is coming. I prayed every day for mercy, Lord, please, you know, just take me. You know, don't take what I was convinced that something like that was going to happen to me. I wanted to constantly be near them. I wanted to protect them all the time. You know, I became a school volunteer, PTSA mom, you name it, all of that, just to be near them, to protect them from people, to protect them from everything. And I also wanted to be the best mom that I could possibly be, because maybe that would make the scales even a little bit. It would make me feel better about who I was, because I felt I was a good person, but the shame and the guilt and what I did, it just didn't let me see that. I felt insignificant. I felt ashamed and unworthy. And so I started trying really hard to just be the best that I could be. And maybe, you know, by other people seeing that, then I will probably believe what they were telling me. Oh, you're so dedicated. Thank you for all you do. And, you know, maybe that'll make me feel better. But no, nothing takes away the shame and the guilt of what you've done when you've done something like this. So this pattern went on for decades, and I constantly the thought of the little kidney bean kept popping into my head, and what I did kept popping into my head, and the enemy took full advantage of that. You know, every time I would sit down to pray, I could hear it. What are you doing here? You know, he's not going to hear you. You're not worthy. You know, murderer, you're a murderer. You know, do you realize you're a murderer who did something so shameful and you know it? So instead of taking that to the Lord, my prayers became shorter and very diluted, and I would just walk up and go. And I heard those voices very loud, and I believed them. Okay, I believed them. What kind of mother does this to their own child? Me. I'm the kind of mother that would do that to their own child. A Christian supermom. Me. I did it.
And you're able to share this with the ladies that come in that are experiencing some of this same feelings and
Yep. Because eventually some women, Tracy, feel regret right away. They feel regret immediately. I didn't. Okay, I felt relieved that it was over, because I thought,
But you
okay,
said that's kind of because you were uneducated. And in your mind, you were thinking it's not a baby until it comes out. You know,
right,
you're taking away that future of that child, but you weren't thinking of the
right.
child. And so a lot of people may think that way, like you said, that come into the clinic. They don't even understand what's in them.
No, but we explained it to them. You know, I had enough time. It took me 30 years. When I wanted to volunteer for Heartbeat of Miami, I filled out an application, and they ask you there, have you ever had an abortion before? I said yes. Okay, so then before you become a volunteer, you need to take this post-abortion recovery Bible study. And I'm like, why? Why do I have to do that? I already processed it. The Lord forgave me. I don't want to rehash anything. It's locked up back there, you know, and I don't want to bring it up. But I consulted Juan, and he said, you know, you should go, you know, and you know, if you don't like it, you just go one time and you leave. So I went, and for the first time in 30 years, I was able to. The Lord brought me full circle. Okay, that Bible study to me was instrumental to be able to confront what I have been going through for for 30 years. The Bible study is called Forgiven and Set Free. The facilitator conducted it in her house. I was very uncomfortable through the whole thing. There were three women. One of them was pregnant, actually. 3 women were taking the Bible study. I was the only one that didn't remember anything about my abortion experience. The other ones did. The other ones, the last memory of her child was her flushing it down the toilet because she took the chemical abortion. At the time when I had mine, that didn't exist. She did the chemical, and when you do that, you have to flush the tissue down the toilet. And you should remember that. Okay, a lot of women go to drugs and alcohol and very destructive behavior. I went the overprotective supermom route. Works. I have to make up for what I did. I have to make up for what I did. But I realized when I took the Bible study that the Lord had forgiven me. It's just the heaviness. It's the type of sin there. I do believe that God is going to demand an account of anyone who sheds human blood. It's a given. That I know that. But the shedding of innocent blood there's that wording in Scripture. Okay, that's the Proverbs 16-19. It does say the 6 things which the Lord hates. Yes, 7, which is an abomination to him: haughty eyes, lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. And it continues on, and that's what I did. Okay, King David, when he was confronted by the prophet Nathan about his sin with Bathsheba, he was forgiven, and then he wrote Psalm 51. Okay, so he asked the Lord to blot out his iniquities. Then I will teach your transgressors your ways, and sinners will be converted to you. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, the God of my salvation. Then my tongue will joyfully sing your righteousness. That verse, Psalm 51, verses 9-17. If you can read that, that's what I had been feeling for 30 years. Okay, and he wrote it out for me. So. I came face to face with my Redeemer during that Bible study, and that was a Trinitarian Bible study. Okay, that Bible study taught in the most important chapter. It taught that your children were in an orphanage in heaven. Basically, they were with the Lord, waiting for us to come up there so that we can hug them. I read that, and I just kind of like scratched it off. And I didn't need to know that or understand that or accept that to come full circle and be healed. Okay, that's in fact, the sin of abortion is, I believe, one that you need to take up specifically and prayerfully before the Lord, because the guilt that comes with the shedding of innocent blood it's toxic. It infects every part of you. The way you think, the way you react, the way you talk to people, the way you see people. I saw the way I saw my dad, the way I saw my mom. It affected everything. This Bible study allowed me to give my child, to acknowledge that my first child was my first child. I didn't think of that at the beginning, but after the Bible study, it gives humanity to this little baby. You're given the ability to grieve, which this is a secret that you keep so deep inside of you that you're not allowed to grieve. Okay, because first of all, because you caused it, and second of all, because it's a secret and you can't tell anybody. What's going on, why you're so sad all the time. Every time I would come home, my husband and I would go through what I studied that night, and we kind of sort of took it together. And you're asked to name your child. Okay, that's really difficult. You're asked to name your child, so we picked a name together, and you give her the dignity of acknowledging her existence. And I say she because I feel it would have been a girl. So the whole Bible study culminates with a funeral service. Okay, and you lay a flower down and you bury your child and you mourn your child. So that's where I am now, and I will do anything that God empowers me to do to keep another woman from going through what I've been. Okay, it's very, excuse me.
Hmm.
It's
Right
very,
there, I'd give you a big hug.
it's to this day. I mean, I think about it, and I just would have done so many things differently if I had had, you know, a little guidance. Sometimes I wonder if there had been somebody who had told me, Carla, you can get a bigger dress, a bigger wedding dress. Why didn't I think of that? You know, if somebody had sat down with me and held my hand and heard me cry and heard me talk about what's going on with my dad, and maybe I wouldn't have gone the way I went. There would have
Mhm.
been a chance, but I didn't. But we can do that for other women. We can sit there and we can hold their hand and we can listen to them. And we can tell them, look, do you want me to talk to your dad? Do you want me to bring your dad over here so we can talk to him? Do you want me to get on the phone? Because we will do that. Okay. Because it's not, um, sometimes it's not that clear cut. There's a lot of real fears. And to some others, no, they just use it as birth control. But to some women like me that regret it from the every fiber of my being, you you can make a difference. And I will do anything to prevent somebody from doing that. I will share my testimony. I will talk to, and most of all, now that door opened for me, the door of post-abortion ministry. Um, the lady that was in charge of the program at Heartbeat of Miami moved to Orlando or Kissimmee or something like that. And that position stayed open. Now, Martha, the president, wants to keep post-abortion recovery in-house. Like usually, where I had the Bible study, that I went through was provided by this lady who is not affiliated with Heartbeat of Miami, but Heartbeat refers people to her, so she'll work with us. But she wanted to have a program in house that we could say, okay, to our clients, we offer this. Do you want to take
Mhm.
it? And this lady left, so she asked me to step in. Then I told her, listen, when I took the Bible study, the last chapter to me, it's not going to happen. Okay, I co-facilitated other abortion recovery Bible studies, and when it gets to that part, I would tell the facilitator, Jeannie, she left. I go, listen, I'm going to be absent during this period because I don't believe in this. Okay, I don't believe that children or we go to heaven when we die. Period. And I spoke to you about Anali. There's
Mhm.
a sister there that works or used to work with Heartbeat of Miami. She was co-facilitating, and she heard me saying that to her, and she reached out to me afterwards, and she said to me, I believe the way you believe. I believe what you're saying is true because the Bible talks about the sleep of the dead. It doesn't say we go to heaven. And I go, thank you. So I told Marta, I don't believe in this. I'm not going to preach it. I'm not going to teach it. I'm not going to advocate for it. If you still want me to do it, I will happily do it. But that chapter needs to be rewritten, and I'm not going to share it with the ladies the way it's written. Do whatever you want. She said, the most important thing is that they know that Jesus is the Messiah. That's all you need to know for salvation. I said, okay, let me move with that. Okay, I'll go with that. So that's where I am right now. As I've shared with you, I am in the process of rewriting the chapter. The Bible study is not perfect, but it worked for me. Okay, it worked for me. And what worked for me is that it forces you to recognize your sin. It forces you to read scripture and what it says about forgiveness, about um, life, about who God is, about all these things. It forces you to come face to face with your Redeemer. And that's
Mhm.
the most important part of the Bible study. Bible study is not to teach doctrine, it's to provide healing for women. But I am not going to read false doctrine to them either. So I told them this is what's happening. So maybe one day I'll write my own Bible study. We'll see where God takes me. But for now, we're just rewriting that chapter. And
Mhm.
hopefully I can have the first one, the first Bible study uh, facilitated by me in January. I'm looking at January.
Well, that'd be a blessing. And really, Carla, it's such a better hope to know that somebody's dead even if it is your aborted baby, but to know that hope of resurrection, because we know in the second resurrection, you're judged according to what you've done. Those babies have done nothing.
They've done nothing.
And I believe that they will be brought into the kingdom, and I believe that you will
Right.
see your child.
I believe that wholeheartedly. That's my hope. I think I did mention to you that after the Bible study, the facilitator that I took the study with gave us an extra book, okay, to read. It was called "I Will Hold You in Heaven."
Mhm.
That's the name of the book. I threw it out. I didn't read a thing, and then she asked us to come back and discuss over donuts and coffee. Well, I went for the donuts and coffee, but I didn't. I told her I didn't read it because I don't believe that we go to heaven. I believe my child is napping, okay,
Mhm.
waiting for the resurrection. Okay, that's fine. It's not a big deal to them. I mean, maybe at the time she didn't make a big deal because we were all having donuts and coffee and discussing how the other ladies did subscribe to that. They were discussing how she imagined her daughter in a lavender field and so on and so forth. And that's what the book talks about. So, but I didn't read the book, so I didn't partake. So I told Marta, I'm not going to read the book. I'm not going to give the book. I'm hoping I can give literature to them that talks about the kingdom. That's what I
Mhm.
want to do. And then maybe I can ask them to come back and discuss. That would be fantastic.
Right,
But
right. I think God's opening up ministry for you, and especially with this opportunity to present truth and to not have to share their, the false teaching.
yeah,
But it just gives hope to the women, and it
it
gives,
does.
I think it's more peaceful,
It is.
knowing your baby's resting and knowing that there is hope for resurrection, and that even if that child lost however many years they would have had now, that they can have eternity, they can have life forever in a much better world than they would have.
Exactly, exactly. This notion that they're happy in heaven actually takes away from the horribleness, okay, the tragic of abortion. Because this woman that I counseled the other day, um, I shared my testimony with her, and I told her, look, it doesn't matter if this baby does not belong to the current boyfriend. I know it's the old boyfriend, but she goes, yeah, I told her my testimony, and she's like, yes, but your baby's in heaven now. And she had a smile from ear to ear, like that's a good thing. And I go, no, 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 no. It's just, it made it sound like the baby's better off where they are right now than being here because it's wonderful over there. It's like, lavender fields and butterflies. And the Bible study that I took showed me a video about that actually, and there's movies about what happens after you die.
Well,
And
what would happen though? Can you imagine thinking your child is up there looking down at you who aborted them? I think that would be worse.
it's horrible. It's horrible. And it ends with a poem written written supposedly by the child, the aborted child. It's a conversation with God. And he's asking, why is my mom not here? Why is it and the Lord is answering? And I didn't even forget because I thought that's so sad. That
Mhm.
that made me so sad thinking that my
Right,
child is wondering where I am and why I'm not there and
right,
why
right.
I'm not holding her. It just made me sad, and everybody that was watching the video was bawling in tears, and I'm looking around like, no, 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 no.
Mhm.
It just had the opposite effect. It was supposed to give you hope, but it
Mhm.
doesn't. It just,
Mhm.
and it lies to you. It does take away from the reality of what happened. The best way to confront it is to accept it.
Mhm.
Ask the Lord to clean you from the guilt, and to use you. Just like David was asking, just use me.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing, and I've been asking the Lord just to speak through me and to do just to guide me. I'll go wherever He leads.
Mm.
So this
Praise
is where
God
I
for
am.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think, like you said about David, Carla, God forgives you, but you need to
Mhm.
forgive yourself.
Yeah, that's a big
And
deal.
looking at David, he
Mhm.
was on his face before God, but once God, allowed that decision, he got up,
Mhm.
washed, and he went about his life now because he could
Correct.
do nothing more about it at that
You could
point.
do nothing more about it, and
And
that's just it. And when you when you try to fix it yourself, you get into another hole, and there's nothing you can do to make up for it.
Right.
You can
Right.
never take this back. You can't bring back the baby. You can't undo what you did. There's nobody to apologize to. The baby's gone. It's just between you and God. Okay. So there's there's so many components that go into it. At least in most women's cases, your past, your upbringing. During the Bible study, you basically have to forgive everybody. And we were talking about forgiveness the other day during Bible study. And these people don't feel like they did anything wrong. But in order for you to move on with your life and remove the toxicity and the guiltiness that comes with the shedding of the innocent blood, you do have to forgive everybody that's involved, whether they know that they did anything wrong or not. And that included the clinic, and that included my dad. My dad never found out about this. He passed away not knowing anything. I never would have told him. Just recently I told my mom. Like maybe last year, and my sisters. I just felt that they needed to know because they have daughters, and I told my daughters too. My daughters need to know.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you, and I know I'll pull up a few comments here. People have really been blessed by what you've shared, and hopefully I think that your testimony here and what you're doing will bless a lot of people in the future that are watching this, because there are so many people that you don't even know about. Somebody in my childhood too was wanting to have an abortion, and it was because of the Catholic Church. Her friend took her there, and they watched a video about how it was killing the baby, and she decided to keep her child. And we need that in our churches. We shouldn't have to be going to a Catholic church to hear this. And so we're hearing it from you. And I do think God has big plans as you're continuing to develop this ministry, and just sharing that hope of forgiveness and healing, and not only in that, but just in your life, that what Jesus can do. Jesus can heal this, no matter the trauma that we've been through, and we have that hope. And if it is somebody who's had an abortion, there is hope for your child. And you need to get your life right, would be another aspect, so that you can be there with your child in that kingdom, because
Amen. We all every woman that comes across our clinic gets to hear about the Lord. Every single one of them. We do get some true professions of faith. We do gain some. Now, I would like to impact that bottom line as well, because I want to tell them exactly.
Amen. True.
So, what I do is I just use the opportunity to plant that seed, and then just let the gardener water it.
Right. And if they're open, if it's good soil, God will bring them back around.
They will, and they call me. I'll tell them, just call me. One time I give them my cell phone number. You're not supposed to do that, but they'll call the clinic and they'll ask, "Is so and so there?" I had one just last week. She wanted to come the day I was there because she wanted to talk to me.
Well, praise God for that. What a blessing, Carla.
Yeah. So I'm happy, and I'm happy that my tragedy might be able to help somebody else. That makes me happy. Okay?
Right.
I can't take anything away. I can't change anything, but maybe somebody like me, a Christian supermom. This is a big secret.
Right.
A lot of women that won't come out with it, but here I am.
Thank you that you have. And Nancy, our sister from Wednesday, says, "Bless you for sharing your story. You're a blessing to many people." Brother Robin here, great testimony. We need that kind of empathy on so many things.
Amen.
That's for sure. And he also has another good comment here. The baggage, especially shame, we carry around from childhood, and that can profoundly impact our decision-making abilities as adults. But as you've done, we need to take responsibility for those decisions.
Exactly. Amen.
This is interesting that Carlos shared. The biblical word brephos is used for both unborn and born children, as well as infants. So it's the same word. It's all a baby, as you said.
It's all a baby. It's all a baby. Absolutely. You know, and if we could just change that mentality in women today, it would make a huge impact. Huge.
Mhm.
I can't stand watching women celebrating, oh, abortion's legal in our constitution. I can't stand it because I look at it and I see them, gosh, they don't know anything. You know, the ignorance is just huge. It just, if they only knew, maybe it would make a difference. I don't know. You know, today's society is a little more callous, but
Well, we know it's getting worse. It says the love of most will grow cold at the end. And I mean, it's starting right here with your own children.
yes, exactly.
And Michelle's comment here, I think, is what you and I have been talking about. And I think where you feel that you're being led, it's a mission field.
It is.
And, you know, and that's the hope of the conference here, for people to see that you don't have to be, you know, going to some foreign land or a pastor, an evangelist or whatnot. There are so many things that we can be doing because of what we've been through in our life,
Absolutely.
and that we're able to do that. I mean, it's sad that people have gone through things and have trauma and whatnot, but it does make you able then to be able to be empathetic and to be able to share. And it opens doors for you that wouldn't be open for anybody else.
The Lord will bring them to you. I believe that wholeheartedly. You
Mm-hmm.
know, he will present an opportunity to you. He will. Even my daughter has friends. They go, Mom, you know, so and so. I go, bring her. Just bring her. I'll talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't feel that you can't share my story with one of your friends.
Right, right. If it's going to help save somebody, yeah. I mean, and when they know it's happened to somebody they know, it's a real person. It's not like you're just reading a book.
Yeah, I was afraid of what their reaction was going to be when they found out about my story, but I really wanted them to know, because I don't want any of them to ever think that I'm going to judge them if they make a mistake that way. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to know that we'll get through it, okay? But they're
Mm-hmm.
never going to lose my love or my support or my help because they make a mistake
Right.
of that magnitude. So I told
Mm-hmm.
them, and they thanked me. They actually thanked me. I was a little afraid of what the reaction was going to be, because I was very protective of them, and I've been a
Mm-hmm.
strict mom. But they said, "Oh, you know," they hugged me. They hugged me. And they said, "Thank you for sharing their story, Mom."
Mm. Well, and thank you, Carla, for sharing with us. And as I said, you are a blessing to our Bible study and the women there. And I'm sure you will be to many people watching. And we'll keep people informed as your ministry goes forward, and maybe what's going on there, and any
Absolutely.
way others can be involved.
I do it in person, and I do it via Zoom. I'll
Right.
take
Yeah.
full advantage of the technology.
Right.
of
So
today.
if anybody out there listening, whether you're live or in a recording, if this is touching you, or you know somebody that is thinking about this or has gone through that, please do reach out to us. I would be happy to put you in touch with Carla. You can
I would appreciate that.
reach out to me here at tracy@kogmissions.com and just let me know you saw Carla at the mission conference, and I will put her in touch with you. And I think that will be a blessing there.
Yes.
So thank you, Carla.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for
and
having me.